Where do I start? This is a question I hear all the time from the people that I'm working with. And in my opinion, we always start with the gut. So the health of your gut dictates your overall wellness and well-being. So I always like to start with symptom tracking. And I have a symptom tracking chart. If we aren't working together yet, please message me, I will send it your way. But essentially, we want to try and determine and connect the dots as to whether certain foods are causing you to feel a certain way. So if you are having skin issues or sleep disturbances or mood disturbances or sudden shifts in mood after meals or gas or bloating or anything else gastrointestinal or heartburn, all of these things are related to the health of your gut and your internal ecosystem and your microbiome, which essentially means the good and bad bacteria that you have in there. And a lot of people think that when we're talking about gut health, that just means adding in some pre and probiotics, but that's not necessarily the case. So there's so many things that can be happening within your internal ecosystem, and the first step is figuring out if you are sensitive to certain foods. We will need to remove those foods for a short period of time, and everyone thinks that when they start working with a nutritionist, I'm going to make you remove all the gluten and all the dairy and all the things that you love forever. And that's not necessarily the case, although those things are inflammatory and you would do better without them. There's a thing that happens if you're having foods often that you're sensitive to or maybe even mildly allergic to, and that's called leaky gut. And this happens when the tight junctions in your gut lining start to loosen up a little bit over time if you're eating these foods on a consistent basis. And if we do some sort of elimination diet, remove those foods that you're sensitive to after we've been able to determine what those foods are, the tight junctions have time and space to be able to heal and seal back up. And you'll probably be able to add those foods back in without your major symptoms that you were having before. And you might just need to revisit this protocol once every year or 2 years or whenever you see these symptoms popping back up. So symptom tracking and being able to bring that awareness into your life and the way that you're eating is always the first step. Pre and probiotics can be useful tools that we would use later on. So prebiotics are the food for your gut bacteria. These are from soluble fiber or indigestible fiber that we have through mainly vegetables. So a good swap that you can make in your diet would be swapping out all the grains that you're eating for leafy greens, things like leeks, artichokes, garlic, onion, asparagus, banana. All of these things are really high in prebiotics. And I've actually seen some adverse effects when people use prebiotic powders instead, if they're not switching up things in their diet. Like if they're still eating a lot of grains and they try to just add in a prebiotic fiber in the form of a powder, usually doesn't work out so well. There's quite a bit of gas and bloating that happened from those things. So I'm not the biggest fan of prebiotic powders. Big fan of adding prebiotics into your diet as a whole. Probiotics are the way that we can re-inoculate the gut bacteria after, let's say, you've had a round of antibiotics, or you just don't have a very well-rounded diet. You don't have a lot of variety in the foods that you eat. Your gut bacteria are probably limited, and that causes overgrowth of some of the bad bacteria or yeast or some of the other things that we want to try and avoid. So probiotics can be a really useful tool, but so can eating fermented foods. Things like kimchi, sauerkraut, kefir is a dairy-based one, so if you know that you are already sensitive to dairy, I would stay away from that one. But there's lots of things out there. Properly fermented pickles, these are things that you can add into your diet that will help to re-inoculate and add in some more of those good bacteria that we're looking for. And the more that you remove the sugary foods, the carb foods, those are the things that feed the bad bacteria. So the more that the bacteria in your gut will naturally balance out if you're removing some of those things already. So these are 2 probiotics that I just have in my house right now. You always want to look for higher than 15 billion colony forming units. So look for over 15 billion CFU on the bottle. This is the Flora Adult Probiotic. This has got 17 billion. This one, the Genuine Health brand, has got 50 billion. So sometimes I'll take something like this if I have been traveling or after I've taken antibiotics or something along those lines. If you do take something really powerful, you know that that's just going to have that much more of a beneficial effect of them living and staying and re-inoculating within your gut ecosystem. So let me know if you have any questions about these things. These are the first places that I like to start with people. I always focus on gut health first, and then we move into things like blood sugar stabilization and rearranging your diet in ways that fit for you, that feel sustainable in the long term. So if you have any questions about any of that, your gut health is related to every single thing in your life. It is referred to as our second brain. It is directly related to your mood and how you feel on a day-to-day basis. So message me with your questions and we can start the conversation.